All right. Well, thank you for joining our PTV Talks today. It's exciting to be back. And yeah, the Atoms will take you through PTV Hub and we'll introduce quite a few topics to you. It's not going to be an overview presentation. It will be more of a demo presentation. So hopefully it's very exciting. Okay, so the agenda today, we're going to talk about within PowerPoint, what is PTV Hub? We'll discuss the main functionalities and use cases for PTV Hub briefly, and then we'll dive into these live demos. The workflow will be starting with one model from the Visum side, taking that model and putting it into Vistro, and then taking the Vistro model and putting it into Visum. So we're using the whole multi-resolution scope with PTV within this demo and how you can apply this also within the Hub environment. We'll close the session today with some coming soon features and then an evaluation that is possible so you can test Hub if you want to, if you like what you see, and we'll finalize this with some Q&A. So first, what is PTV Hub? PTV Hub is a cloud-based platform solution. So it's not desktop-based, it's cloud-based, but it does work with the desktop licenses for PTV Visum, Vissim, Viswalk, and Vistro. So that is our one statement sentence of what is PTV Hub. And where does PTV Hub exactly sit in our mobility tech suite? If you've been paying attention for the past few years now, we've now merged with Econolite under this umbrella of Umovity. So PTV's software is within this pink border that you see right now. And Econolite software is now within this blue border that you can see. And basically, if you just gray out the Econolite side of things right now, you can see PTV Hub is this icon here. It's the darker pinkish icons. That means it's a cloud product within our color system of icons. And PTV Hub will incorporate the desktop products that we have. So again, Vistro, Visum, Vissim, Viswalk, these will all be made available and functionality made available within PTV Hub. So that's kind of the overall picture and what that looks like within our product suite. Okay, so background information, the motivation for PTV Hub. Why did we develop it? Well, from the development perspective, that's my job. We look at user feedback, we look at user pains, and then we look at what can users gain by having a new software or new feature or something like this. So we use this pains and gains landscape. So looking at user pains before PTV Hub, we heard a lot of feedback that it's difficult to share models that are big, like a Visum model that's very large size or something. It's hard to collaborate on these models and share results with reviewers. So that was one common feedback we heard. The other thing we heard was we need a better way to set up and manage licenses. So if you've been around with PTV for a while, there's many ways you can get a license from us. But PTV Hub provides a more consolidated way and a more intuitive way to manage licenses for your team. And hopefully you'll see that today. And then finally, the last pain here is it takes too long to run my models and meet my deadlines. We've heard from many users, even though we're better than our competitors in some areas, we heard from many users that it may take 24 hours to run a large Visum model, or maybe you have 20 or 30 scenarios of a Visum model with 10, runs each or 100 runs each, something like this. So PTV Hub is a way to help streamline that pain. So the gains that we're expecting, hopefully you'll give us feedback on this after you try it, is you can say, wow, I can now easily manage my desktop licenses. You can say, wow, now I can share my models and collaborate on my results. You're gonna love cloud computations because you can run simulations in parallel or scenarios in parallel. And you can create these interactive dashboards to help simplify the data sets that you have and stories you need to tell with your customers. And finally, there's this desktop subscription and a way to consolidate the licenses and cloud functionality all in one invoice, package, paid bill, etc. So we're hoping those are the gains that you'll see from Hub. And talking about this functionality, the core functionality, yes, license management. Again, this is centralizing the licenses you have within your agency or within your consultancy. These will also allow license borrowing. So don't worry about functionality like that. You'll have license borrowing. If you need to update a license or you're adding a module, I mean, this is all handled within the license management area. Workspaces, for me, you may have heard me say this before, I view this kind of as like a project folder or a place to store your dashboards and models. You'll see in this presentation how we're using workspaces. It also controls access to this specific content through the workspace, so you can give permissions to this folder. Model management, this is where you can have version controls and you can share models, and you'll see a lot of this today in our demos. Cloud computation, this is really cool. So you basically have a giant computer behind you now with PTV Hub. So some of you in your offices may have a desktop machine in the corner that you use to run large calculations and computations. But now with PTV Hub, you have an infinite amount, not infinite amount, but you have a lot of these cloud computing machines behind you. So you can run 3 or 4 very large Visum models at the same time and get the results. So it's really, really cool. And dashboards, you've heard about dashboards from us for a while, but you can still create, visualize, share insights from Visum, Viswalk, and Vistro with dashboards. Who uses Hub? Everybody uses Hub within your workspace. So entire organizations can use Hub. So Hub is for the entire organization. It's not just something you would use for a project and only a small amount of people can use it. If you are a large consultancy, you can buy one Hub and it's available for your entire consultancy. So that's what I'm meaning by entire organization. You can also invite some external users, so people outside of your organization can be invited to it to participate. Maybe they can help you build some models or they can help you look at some dashboards. And with that functionality, you're able to talk about models and collaborate with reviewers and stakeholders, decision makers like the mayor or some head of another agency that's not your own agency. Of course, you can share dashboards with public users and engage with the public, share your ideas there. And then finally, IT administrators can even use Hub because they're the ones that currently are probably helping you out with license management and setting up code meter and all that fun stuff. But now they can administer Hub and set up the licenses through the web environment. So they will also be using it. Okay, so we're gonna jump into the demos right now. And the first demo that I'm going to do is basically give you an overview of Hub, just click around in a few of the apps so you can understand the landscape and what it looks like. And then I'll switch it over to Adam Groves to do the Visum demo, and he's gonna show some models and dashboards from a Visum model. And then I'll jump back in for Vistro, and then he'll jump back in for Visum. So that's how the demos are going to work. So first, let me jump in and show you the overview of PTV Hub. So I can go to our showcase that we have within HQ and Collegeville. So this is our showcase that we have here. You're greeted by a home page. So we call it the home page right there, home. And this has a way to access sales. So you can contact our sales representatives. You can submit support tickets from here. And you can even use these administrative tools. That's what I like to call the first column. You can set user management. So it's invite users. Let me click on that really fast. These are the users that we have in our current subscription here at our headquarters. And these are the roles that they have. You can invite users to also be in this subscription. And then on the license side of things, you can click on here and see which licenses you have within your hub environment. Being PTV, we have everything and we have a lot of everything. You may only have a few licenses, but you'll get to see what you have here, what sizes they are, when do the licenses expire, etc. Let me go back one more. Workspaces, as I mentioned, this is kind of like your folder structure. So you can set up these workspace areas here. It's kind of like a tag that you're setting up. For example, I have this UGM demo workspace, and I can give it a label, I can give it a name, a description, and then I have the ability of adding whoever I want in my subscription to also share this workspace with me and have access. So again, it's a way to control and manage the access to your content. And so in our demo today, both Adam Groves and myself, we have access to workspaces. Also, we have the Models app. So you'll see, again, usage of this today. Within the Models app, we list all the models within this particular workspace that I have accessed right now. I can change the workspace and it will open up or list other models. But for example, with this scenario project, I can click on it for Visum. I can start a calculation of the base network. I can see which versions or revisions I've made throughout the model. I can revert changes of the revision in case one of my colleagues makes a mistake. We can see the scenario management, so all the different scenarios that are set up. We can see if they've been calculated. So these, by saying 100% here, it basically means that the scenarios have been calculated and there's results for the scenarios. There is a KPI indicator. This may not actually be the best example, but you can see for scenarios and you can see different attributes that we've added to compare the results of the different scenarios. You can click on modifications and add modifications also within the hub environment. And if you have any procedures, you can also see the procedures. It's the same thing for Visum. So in Visum, again, I can see what the revisions are. I can see the calculations and the KPIs that I have set up. This is probably a better KPI setup for this. All right, and lastly, before I hand it over to Adam Groves, we have the Dashboards app. And within the Dashboards app, it's very similar. We have a list view of all the dashboards. Again, let me just go to this demo area. You can see all the dashboards that we have, who's created the dashboards, who's modified the dashboards, are public links active or not. And then you click on the data tab. These are all the data and things, attributes that are available to be added to dashboards. So that's the quick and dirty behind dashboards. Okay, Adam Groves, do you want to jump in here and start taking us through Visum?
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and get my screen share going. All right. So what we're going to kind of walk through today is we're going to start from the Visum side through to Vistro and then to Visum and show you kind of like a sample workflow, how you might utilize Hub and as well as those desktop products in a project. So I'm going to jump over into our Models app. All right, so here we've created our dedicated project workspace, particularly for this webinar. And we have a number of different models that are uploaded here. I can easily filter those since we're going to start with Visum. I'm going to switch over and just say I only want to look at the Visum models. So I have a few different models here. So the first one is just basically the full network model that I uploaded just so we have a good record here in terms of where we're starting this project from. So I just uploaded it. I didn't make any changes, but just kind of lets me store a version of that here. But from there, what I've done is create a subnetwork, which is where we're going to spend a little bit more of our time. So I click over to the model here. You can see I've made a number of edits to it. And you see the comments here, all the changes I've made. And we, of course, go back and revert or open any one of these individual revisions of the model. In this case, if we want to open the most recent version, I could go up here and click this open in Visum. I've already done that, so I'm going to tab over there now. And we have a small section of subnetwork at Visum. The way you can tell that this is a cloud model is up here at the top. You can see that it says cloud model, it's got the model name, and I have the base network open. Now, if I've made changes to this and I want to save it, I just hit save. And what that's going to do is it's going to package up any changes that I've made, upload them in the background to the cloud. Once that gets done, it's going to give me the opportunity to go up here and comment. So maybe I made some additional network edits here. I can type that in and hit save. And that's going, I made a typo there, but that's okay. If I go back here and reload this model file, you're going to see my typo there, and I could always go in and edit it from this side as well. So working with the cloud model is just as easy as that. It still opens in your desktop, but then saves it to the cloud. If you've ever used Scenario Manager in either Visum or Visum, you also have the ability to do that, which is really great. So kind of walk that through how that works. With Scenario Manager, you have any number of scenarios you can outline. Those scenarios in Visum are a combination of modifications. These may be modifications to the network, modifications to the demand. Then you can have different procedure sets. So these are different like model workflows basically that you have set up within the Visum procedure sequence. Just to give you an idea how you set these up with modifications, I have two set up right now, one for a couple different kind of like growth factors just to kind of incrementally increase the demand within the model. But what we could do as well is, let's say I had some geometric change I want to make. I could create a new modification, and I could maybe say that I want to, change signal to roundabout. I could enter a description. I could select a dependency. So if there was some other modification that has to be included with it for this to work, we can do that. We can also do an exclusion. So if two modifications don't work or cancel each other out, you can specify that so you don't accidentally add them to the same scenario. Specify a load order. So this would be basically if there's some order that the modifications need to be loaded for it to work properly, you could do it. And just hit confirm. That creates this. And now if I wanted to go and make those geometric edits, I could open the desktop app. It would automatically in the background download everything, open Visum. I could make the edits, and then I could save it back to you. In this case, we don't need this. We've already made these couple of modifications, so I'm going to delete that for now. On the procedure side, in this case, I've outlined two procedure sets. One is a static assignment in Visum. The other is a simulation-based assignment, so we can kind of easily toggle back and forth without having to make any other changes to any files. You can just specify that in the scenarios. Now I have a number of scenarios here that are already calculated, but just to give you an idea of how easy it is to create these, I'm going to delete a couple of these. So here at the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and click through and delete these. For there. So now I'm left with just these kind of base conditions here, and I'm going to clear out the calculations. So let's say I want to create some new scenarios. I just hit new scenario, and we're going to call this the future volumes static assignment. I can enter this description here if I want. I select that I want to use the future volume modification, so that's going to provide me with the increased volumes, and I want to specify the static assignment procedure set. Hit confirm. It's going to create that scenario. Then I can quickly go through and create one that's future volumes with a dynamic assignment. Again, select the future volumes and the dynamic assignment. Confirm. And I'll just go ahead and real quickly create the other for like the higher volumes as well for static. And then future volume or high future volumes, dynamic, select the right modification and procedure set. So just like that, I've created 4 new scenarios, and I didn't have to reopen Visum at all in this case. It's just going to pull together all the information from the base network, any modifications that I've applied to that scenario, and then the procedure parameter set. Now, the really cool thing comes now that I have all these set up. I can select all and hit start calculation. It's going to say, hey, do you really want to start this? And you can say yes. And that's what's going to begin calculating all these different scenarios in parallel. So while this is going on in the background, it's pulling up virtual machines for each of these scenarios, loading all the data into Visum. I'm going to run the model and then collect all the outputs. So we're going to let that sit for just a minute here. It's probably going to take a few minutes for this to run, but we'll kind of come back to this in a minute. So while that's going on, I'm going to toggle over and we're going to talk a little bit about the dashboards. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to switch over to our dashboards app within Hub. It's going to toggle over. I'm still selected to our PTV Talks workspace here. And I'm going to start with Visum so we can search to filter, and I'm going to see the current dashboards. In terms of how you get data into the dashboards, you can see we have this data, and here we have models and scenarios that exist underneath of that. If I toggle back to Visum here, we can show you it's as simple as going File, Export, Dashboards. You're going to get a window that's going to come up here that's going to allow you to select the types of network objects that you want to select to upload, as well as select the individual attributes. So in Visum, you're going to select these. So you're not uploading all the data at once to the dashboards. You only need to upload the exact information you want. If I go back to our dashboards here, just created a couple things here. The first one is maybe want to outline the particular corridor we're looking at, as well as the study location. So I basically uploaded Polygon and flagged those links. So we get an idea just in terms of what the project location where we talk about is. So when we go into Vistro, Adam's going to be adding some a development here, and we're going to see what the impact of that is. If I go back, there's a few other kind of different things you can do. The first one I'm going to show is a select link. Since we were dealing with that particular corridor here, I set this up with a select link going both traveling from left to right here along Archer, which is kind of like this northeast bound, and southwest bound. I've then loaded the different scenarios. So what we see here is a list of the links with all the volumes for those, as well as these zones, which are going to be origins for this color and destinations. So as a dashboard user, I can easily toggle back and forth, and you're able to see, just give you an idea exactly like what traffic could we possibly be affecting on that corridor based on the results of the regional model. So we can see that quite easily. You can interactively explore, click on any of these individual items and see. In this case, these are 24 hours. These numbers are fairly high. Other things that you can do, we're going to be showing doing some dynamic assignments. So you can also upload the trajectories from the dynamic assignments in Visum as this kind of animation. And what you get is this kind of simplified animation that you can scroll around in, you can rotate, you can change the speed, you can zoom around in here. I'm just giving you an idea, just a really good like high level view of what's happening under the hood. Again, this is accessible to anybody with a web browser. So if I want to share this with somebody who maybe wasn't a Visum user, wasn't a part of my account, I could just create a public link, copy to the clipboard, and shoot this over to somebody, and they would be able to open this in their web browser and view this simulation data without needing a license to either Hub or Visum. So there's a couple just quick examples in terms of some of the Visum stuff. We're going to go through a bunch of dashboard examples. But at this point, I'm going to pop back over to our models app because our simulation or assignment should be done by now. So if I go back to this subnetwork, we can see that all of the calculations have been completed. So, 3 to 4 minutes it took. So all these operated in parallel. The nice thing about this is as well, there's a computation time that you're consuming, but this doesn't use any of your desktop licenses. And obviously, it doesn't tie up your PC in terms of, computational resources all being done on the cloud. Now, if I want to open the results to any of these and actually dive in and look at the individual scenarios, I can open the results of any of these scenarios in the desktop app, just like you do the base model or any of the modifications. And as Adam mentioned earlier, we can look at high-level KPIs here. So in this case, we can look at total VMT, and then delay and corridor speed. You'll notice on here the static assignment results for delay and corridor speed are 0 because the attributes I use for that are only available in this case within the dynamic assignment. So you get an idea in terms of different volumes, what the impact's going to be on things like VMT or delay or corridor speed. All right, and with that, I think I'm going to be ready to hand it over to Adam to talk about the Vistro side of things.
Okay, and let me make myself presenter again. And yes, you're seeing a Vistro network. And hopefully this Vistro network looks familiar because I took it from the Visum network that Adam just showed to get started with Vistro. So again, there's different perspectives between planners and engineers. Engineers will tend to go to more details within the intersection than the planners in a lot of cases. So what I did within this Vistro model was really pay attention to geometries, turn lane lengths, signal timings, things like this. And I cleaned up the network as well as performed a trip generation for the proposed scenario. I have 2 scenarios. One is existing, one is proposed. You're currently seeing the proposed. I did a trip generation with 2 sites. 20 here, zone 20 is high-rise apartments. It's quite large apartment complex, generating 480 trips during the peak period. And 21 is a large sit-down restaurant. So again, I think it's quite big, but it's only generating 77 trips in the peak hour. So maybe it's not that big. But yeah, we have 2 different land uses here. And I distributed traffic assignment in the proposed condition here in the proposed scenario. And I've also sent the trips using the trip assignments. So you can kind of see the paths that they're taking within the Vistro network. As well as the trip distribution, you can see maybe the arrows leading from the zones to the gates. So this is all fine and well within Vistro, but in dashboards, all of this stuff starts coming alive, and I'll show that in 1 second. However, one big problem, so I can say as the editor here, oh yeah, I've done all of these changes to my Vistro network, but who really knows what I did, right? Again, going into models, I can select the Vistro model and I can see all of the revisions that I've done within my Vistro model. I started with just, looking at the base model. I fixed up some geometry. I fixed up some freeway stuff and interchanges. And you can kind of see how I'm going through the model, like in these logical steps and saving a revision as I go. So I did some balancing, I set up coordination groups, and I went down through the chirp generation stuff and eventually got to the end of it. So someone can go back in and actually see all of these things. And if they wanted to, like Adam said, you can open each individual revision and specifically see what was changed within that revision. So revisions and model management is pretty cool. Going back to the Vistro network, similarly to what Adam showed, you go to File, Export, Dashboards to export the data out to dashboards. Please pay attention to which scenario is active. It's going to pull the scenario data for the active scenario. So again, File, Export, Dashboards. It pulls up a very similar dialog where I can select the subscription, the workspace, and then I can select where do I want to store the data. So I have a PM and I have a PM with my development. And then I would just click on this and hit export, and then that data gets sent to PTV Hub. On the dashboard side, we're in the dashboards app here. You can see the lists of all the dashboards we have for our presentation today. Again, I can search by Vistro, and it shows the 3 dashboards that I want to show you today. For the sake of time, I already have them preloaded here. So the first one I want to show you is showing flow bundles and net site trips. So if you really need to explain your data to someone, what's the impacts of the flow bundles going to and from these zones, you can do that with this map on the left. You can toggle between the high-rise apartments, which is showing right now, or the flow bundles that are being created from the restaurant. So really the restaurant's not adding that many trips, but you can see with the high-rise apartments, there's a lot of trips, especially around the interchange and freeway area. Also, you can set these filters for this. These filters are set up for the net site trips over for the map on the right side. And so I can basically develop a scope of maybe I only want to see what trips are between 100 to 250. So right now you can see these are the trips between 100 and 250 within my network, or maybe some trips between 50 and 100. And you can see the trips between 50 and 100 here. So it's really cool to set up these filters and be able to dive into the data. So that's flow bundles. Also, you can click on nodes within the maps and get a lot of details such as trip generation data that provide additional context to what you're trying to show. My next dashboard that I set up, again, I was saying this is, it gets really exciting on the dashboard side for Vistro. We're showing origin destination data within on a map. So this is really cool to be able to see all of the gates that are in red, and then again, the 2 zones here that are in blue and green for the high-rise apartments and the large restaurants. And you can see which destination centers are providing the most trips. In this case, again, it's the freeway. It makes sense, being so close to the interchange. So it's another way to explore the data. I can also add tables. So basically, I've added this same trip generation table from the Vistro side, but I've kind of mocked it up now on the dashboard side of thing. So you're seeing the land use variables, the trips in and out, internal capture percentage, all of those fun details. And I now have a table on the top right for OD pairs. So I can see the different OD pairs here. Again, I have filters. All I have to do is turn these on with the toggle, and I can filter basically the information between what's going to and from the high-rise apartment or the restaurant. And you can see that the OD pair table is now updating based on what I'm selecting. So it's interactive. Finally, the last dashboard that I want to show before I hand it back over is level of service dashboard. I can take the intersection level of service data and put it onto a map. I can color code it. Obviously, in this case, red is bad. So this intersection here has 212 seconds of delay, which is actually really bad. And you can see all the information about this delay. You can see the stops, you can see the vehicle miles traveled, etc. Also, you can put in some aggregate information. So I can see basically the percentage of all of the signalized intersections and what their level of services are within my network. So it provides some sort of network performance. I can also get some like average delay performance across the network for signalized intersections. And I can summarize maybe some emissions and see where, you know, there's emission problems, things like that. There are filters again. I did this just to demonstrate that you can filter between control types. So right now we're showing the signalized, but if I go to roundabout, you can see that I've added 2 roundabout intersections. I don't think I have really any volumes assigned to it, so that's why it's operating quite well. And it's the same thing, I can look at 2-way intersections, so 2-way stop controls, and even filter through those. If you're listening, we can add the worst movement, so you can see the worst movement delay that would be calculated for this, but you can also see the intersection delay, so the average. So you're able to add 2 different KPIs and 2 different delay types to 2-way stop control at intersections, which is cool. Also, I have scenario management, similar to what Adam was showing. Let me turn this off. So you can see the changes between the existing PM. Yeah, let's make sure we're on signalized, and the development. There's not much changes, but you can see that some of the colors flip-flop. You can also see that, you know, some of the shares of level of service across the network flip-flops. You do have the capability as well as honing in on information per intersection. So if I turn this filter on and go to Archer at 34th Street, this is the one that was performing very badly. I can isolate it and see what the information is at that particular intersection. One last thing that I want to explain, if you're an editor or viewer invited to the subscription, you can always log in. So I'm going to sign in to this dashboard because I have access. I'm going to cancel the changes. I can now add comments to the dashboard. So again, for this really bad intersection, if that's not acceptable to me as an agency, and I'm doing the review of this dashboard, I can click comment and say, wow, this is really high. Please mitigate. And then I can send that comment for the modeler to see and look at. You can see a comment bubble. You can see that it's in the comment side pane. If I want to reply to this comment as the modeler, I'll say, yeah, it is. I'll fix it. And then you can go on and on with the comment thread and eventually resolve the thread if the changes are acceptable to you. So this is how comments will work within the dashboard itself. All right, so that's the Vistro portion. I wanted to keep it really short, but we'll jump back into Adam so he can go over Visum.
All right, let me swap my screen back here. All right, there we go. So now we're going to go back to the models here. Everything else works just the way we talked about, for example, with Visum or Vistro in terms of how you access these. I'll click on one node. You can see, same thing in terms of being able to make your revisions, create modifications, create scenarios. In this case, for example, I created some different geometries around how those site trips were going to get onto that kind of main arterial. One difference here, let me cancel out these runs. Because we're working in Visum, and typically you're going to be doing more than one simulation run. We now have the option to choose when we go to run those models how many simulation runs we want to do for each scenario. So I can click, for example, 10 and say that I want to do them in parallel. And so now this is really where those economies of scale really work in your advantage in terms of getting a lot of simulations done, because it's going to run all these in parallel. And we can hit start, and this will start to calculate in the background. Same thing here in terms of KPIs. This won't update till these calculate, but this is going to provide you some high level, in this case, travel time averages between the different scenarios. So we'll go back at this point into dashboards just to kind of give you a quick idea in terms of what are some of your possibilities around dashboarding in Visum, because this is relatively new and a really cool application. So first thing I'll go through here is this kind of existing conditions. So we're showing a few different things on this dashboard. The first is this kind of heat map, which shows your Visum network. In this case, I have this for density. We have some travel time charts down here, and also some total node delay at the various intersections. So we have the ability to toggle through different time intervals here. So if I want to step to the next time period, I have a bunch of these open, so this may take a second with this, but this will update the densities. And you can step through the various time periods. And again, this is something where somebody who's not familiar with Visum can get a pretty good idea that red is bad, green is good, and kind of see the same kind of information like Adam saw. That this node up here is intersection isn't operating too great. Yeah. So next we'll show through, just like we showed with Visum. You can also upload your Visum trajectories and give you this kind of simplified view. It's not going to be the same as a 3D graphic in the desktop version of Visum, but you can kind of see these Q lengths. You can kind of do this kind of fuzzy thing here. So just give people high level indicators of how the network is performing. Same thing here, you can also do propose and existing side by side. Here we have some additional information in terms of northbound and southbound travel times. And if we go through, maybe look at the maximum here, this will give us maximum maps for the density in both the proposed and the existing, as well as the travel times once that loads up here. There you go. So you can get an idea and see, and actually in this case, I'm getting there that because I've restricted the y-axis here. So 5 minutes, 22 seconds traveling northeast bound versus the existing is 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So easily able to compare side by side in this case, rather than using that scenario slider. You can put all that different information on the same map. Now, the other thing I have prepared here as well is to look at some emission information. So these are the nodes in the Visum model. So we've got some totals for the intersections. This is a carbon dioxide, or carbon monoxide rather, generated by each of these intersections totaled up. Down here we have a table that gives you the per movement carbon monoxide emissions. You can scroll through and see which movements are actually generating the most carbon monoxide. For example, by filtering this. See, okay, and see that intersection up here is the reason that is the highest, which you kind of expect based on what we've seen so far. And you're also visualizing it here. We can toggle these through the time intervals as well. So if you want to see an average instead of the total, you can do that and it will update everything. Now, for example, here, because this intersection is a little bit further from our study area, so maybe we're not as concerned about that. So one of the things you could do, for example, is go into this chart and we could add some data filtering and add a filter and say that we want the node name is not Archer at 34th. And if I did this correctly, in this case, we're going to remove that intersection from our pie chart just because, so we can see in better relation these other intersections. So if I hit confirm, and it removed that intersection, so we have, you see the kind of piece of the pie have adjusted since we've removed that intersection from the equation. So you can make these kind of inline filters. You can also filter things at kind of a more global level within the dashboard here. Yeah, one other thing I do want to show as well, we did take the time to go PTV Talks, Gainesville Network. If you do take the time to really set up your Visum network really carefully, it shows up really well in this web dashboard. So you can see all these kind of lane markings and all your kind of styles here that you've set up all translate through really well. So if you take the time to clean up your model on the desktop side, that's also going to reflect here in the web as well. Well, let's actually jump back in and see if our models have finished processing. I go to our PTV Talks workspace to here, and they're just finishing up. So it'll be finished here in just a minute. So this, once that finishes up, it'll start to populate our travel times here. So in this case, we run it for 7 minutes, and this has been processing a total of 20 of these simulations, all in parallel. It just always takes a little bit longer when you're doing it live. So that'll finish, but I think that's it from my side on the Visum. So while this is kind of wrapping up here, I'll go ahead and let Adam know. He can talk a little bit about what's coming next.
Great. And I just noticed as soon as I switched over, your model's finished.
Of course.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm going to finish up with the next couple minutes with a few more slides. First, let's talk about, if you want to try Hub, how do you do this? So we have an evaluation that's available. We'll start you off with 1 month. Maybe we can extend it to 2 months if you need some extra time to try it. We'll provide you with a Hub Ready desktop license. So by Hub Ready, that means that that license is open to connect to the cloud side of Hub. So you do have to have a license type that works with the Hub environment. But we'll provide that for you for this evaluation. It could be whatever version you currently have. We can replicate that, clone that, and get it to be kind of one-to-one that you need to do a proper evaluation. And within that, you can try dashboards and calculations. You can store models and see how the license management works within your organization, as well as add different users and share dashboards through public links. So this is possible through this evaluation. If you're interested, please talk to Adam Groves on the call. He will be more than happy to help you with this. And I want to close with just a few things that are coming up or just released recently that you should be aware of. You saw the comment functionality within the Dashboards app. So by the release time, fingers crossed, we are going to have commenting within the desktop product, and it's going to be powered by Hub. So how this works is you'll be modeling along in the desktop product. You'll be able to leave these little comment bubbles, similarly to dashboards, on link objects or zones, or even at any generic XY location. And you can provide a specific comment saying like, hey, this isn't right, and then maybe fix this or whatever. This comment service will be managed by Hub, and it will be in real time or near real time. So you can really have this conversation and dialogue back and forth with your teammates in the modeling or reviewing environment. So it'd be really cool. At the same time, we'll also improve the desktop function or the dashboard functionality with commenting to make it consistent with the same functionality as the desktop. So that's really big and really cool, and I'm super excited about this. I think you guys will like this functionality. The other thing is model scripting. We're currently working on this. So as of right now, if you have scripts within your Visum model or Vissim model, you're not able to run this in the cloud environment. But we're building this scripting into the cloud environment. So again, around the end of the year, this should be possible to be able to run scripting within Visum. So you're able to do these scripts. And VAP signals, probably this audience isn't using VAP signals all that often. You're probably mostly using RBC signals, so that's not a huge issue from the Visum perspective or Vissim perspective. The last thing is a dashboard feature called Turn Movement Widget, or I don't know what the final name will be. We've come up with so many names, but essentially it will be a figure like I'm circling right now with the laser pointer. You'll be able to see the turns within Visum, Vissim, and Vistro. So it will be across all the products. You can see this turn visualization that will show you maybe count volumes or delays, or queue lengths or something like that, and you'll be able to set the ribbon sizes like you can with link attributes. And it will provide a really cool visualization and clear visualization to see what's going on specifically at intersections. So those are the three major things that are coming soon. Of course, there's more. With Hub, we have the capability of adding features consistently. It's about every 3 weeks or so, we're either updating bugs or doing a new feature. So, I mean, we update quite fast within the Hub environment. And then lastly, you saw this a few times, so I'll kind of go over it really fast. The scenario management within Hub has these KPI indicators, and it's available for Visum and Vissim to see these KPI indicators. One note, when you're setting this up, you need to do the aliases. So it's controlled by the aliases within Visum and Vissim. You need to set these up in the base network so they're available across all scenarios. So that is one important thing to know. The second thing, if you're doing this for Vissim, so the one with the eyes at the end, Vissim, you need to set the attributes of it as network settings. So that's what this screen capture is showing. So we have a network setting object type, and then you can select the attributes from there, and then they'll show up in the Hub environment. So those are the only two footnotes for the scenario indicators. And of course, we'll improve this functionality as time goes on. We'll allow you to update these from the website. Currently, right now, you have to set them up on the desktop side. Okay, and that is it. And I will open up for questions. I don't know.